It's only after we've done all of our work in the biblical world, thinking about context, text, and aims of the for the original audience, and then as after we've thought through how those things relate to us today and relate to Christ, that then we're able to move into back into our world. And when we move back into our world, we also want to think through context, text, and aims for us and our community. So when we think about context, what context, we want to ask the question, what context do we find ourselves in that would relate to this passage and in which I am called to apply this passage? All of us come to the scriptures in a particular context. It may be that you just had an argument with your spouse. It may be that you're going through a church split. It may be that there's social injustice taking place in your world. It may be that there's a political coup. It may be that you've lost a loved one. It could be, it may be that you've been racked with guilt in your life because of sin. It could be any number of things. And when you come to the scriptures then, and you open those up, you want to think through as you dive into the world of the text, and you think about, again, all of those elements of context, text, and the aims for the original audience, and then you begin to think through what comes over, what relates from the text to our world today. Then you want to relate it even more specifically to your particular context in which you find yourself. So let's look at some examples. Here's Luke 7. So this is a picture, a rendition of that dinner in Simon's house. Okay? And so what you could find yourself, the context in which you could find yourself is, you could find yourself like the woman. You could find yourself very broken and desperate and in desperate need for forgiveness. And when you come to this passage, what God does in this passage then for you is just highlighting what this woman experienced at the feet of Jesus. Or you could come to this passage much like a Pharisee who's struggling with self-righteousness, who looks down on those poor sinners that are, that aren't as righteous as you. And what you need then, as you read this passage, is you need for this passage to expose your self-righteousness, just like Simon got exposed. Okay? So it depends on what context you are coming from. Genesis 21. Similarly, you could feel forgotten by God. You could feel as if God doesn't hear. Just like Hagar here, you could be crying out, wondering, God, am I just a slave woman who you don't care for? Do you care for my child at all? And so have you forgotten us? And just like Israel in the wilderness, you could begin to complain. You could find yourself complaining about the lack that you have. You could be complaining that, God, I'm tired. I'm tired of having to depend upon you. I'm tired of meager provisions. I'm tired of, leadership in my life that just doesn't seem to be, I want to go back to Egypt. That's where you could be, because you're just tired. And so that could be your context. You want to think through your context. Ephesians, you could think, do I need a fresh reminder of the gospel? It could be that you've forgotten. Your context is that you've forgotten how great the grace of the gospel is. It could be that you're living as an orphan, or it could be that, or the question is, am I living as an orphan, or am I living as one seated with Christ? So that could be, your context could be one in which you're living as if God hasn't raised you with Christ. I may find myself regularly feeling like I need to earn God's favor. Your context could be that, when I sin, I feel like I can't really embrace God's forgiveness of me, His lavish love. He feels distant when I've sinned, and I even as a result, kind of run from Him. And I feel like over time, I kind of need to kind of earn back His good graces, of kind of having a good track record to be able to be received by Him. So that could be your context. So when you think through how you come to the scriptures, or when you come to the scriptures, you want to think through, where am I living right now?